Hello everybody, and welcome back to the Tomb Raider Underworld walkthrough. It's time to head to Croft Manor to find out exactly what Richard Croft hid in his manor, because that's what we found out at the end of Thailand. So we are going to go into our casual clothes, because that is technically what we should be wearing whilst we explore Croft Manor. Obviously we could choose anything, but casual is what we are going to want to do. There's a very specific reason for this, because it makes it, well, it's technically the canonical outfit for this particular part. But either way...
I have not tended to the crypt. Why didn't you ever tell us this was down here?
Yeah, I wish I still didn't know. You know what? I'll wait up here.
I did warn you that playing your music so loud could wake the dead.
Damn. This is creepy.
What makes you think it's here?
Father signing his name with all three initials was a clear reference to my grandfather. Light, please. Well, it seems my father was full of surprises.
And so, here we are, in this crypt. Well, dungeon beneath the crypt. It's a little bit grim, but... oh well! Now, I had a slight, screw-up at the start of this part, and that's why Lara kind of flipped in and hair went woo! As I said, the game's slightly glitchy every now and again. That was one instant of it, where obviously they drop Lara in, and then the hair just kind of freaks out because it doesn't know what it's doing. Now, this entire thing isn't very long, like it's actually quite short. And it is easily the shortest chapter in the entirety of the game. Because it's about half an hour. Whereas pretty much all of the other levels are an hour plus, really. But the reason that I had the mess up at the beginning of this is because I had the rather... well, just a really, really bad run, shall we say, of trying to get to the... I think it's the second artifact, actually. Because the first artifact is here, which is fair enough. It's the second of the buggers. Because to get to it requires this rather horrendous jump here, which is a really, really long jump. And I mean, it's probably one of the longest in the game. And while it's essentially quite easy to get across to that, if you want to try and get back safely, it's nigh on impossible. And in fact, I think it's technically just safe to drop down, as I figured out here. Because I died a lot from attempting to get back safely when I should have just dropped all along. It didn't go well. Yeah, I had such a mess there that was just like, right, I'm going to start the entire thing again. And that's why things ended up the way they did. So now, whilst we kill loads of spiders and bats, because that's obviously everything we need to be doing. I should probably bring up about Richard Croft. Or to give him his full title, Lord Richard James Croft. Although in the original games he was Amelia Croft, which is a stupid name. So, this is kind of going to be a little bit of a history about Lara's father. So, in the original Tomb Raider, he had a biography which told of Lord Amelia Croft, and that he had his daughter brought up as an aristocrat, sending her to a Swiss finishing school. However, after the Toka Caribe plane crash, thanks to her rebellion against the stifling demands of the English aristocracy, her family disowned her. So, basically, you are led to assume that Lara lives alone on the family estate, the Croft Mansion, which is attended by the old retainer Winston, and the whereabouts of her parents are not revealed. Then, at the beginning of Tomb Raider Chronicles, Lara is missing in Egypt, presumed dead, which I believe happens at the end of Tomb Raider 3, or something along those lines. And the opening video shows her memorial statue being visited by a huddled couple in the rain, which is assumed to be Lara's parents. I think it may actually be confirmed to be them. Then you had the film, and in which Richard Croft is played by Angelina Jolie's real-life father, John Voight. So, Angelina Jolie playing Lara Croft. So that's pretty damn awesome, really. But basically, in that he is an archaeologist, now deceased, and a former member of the Illuminati, because of course. Lara basically finds an old letter from her father hidden in the mansion, which tells her about the Society's agenda. And then you get flashbacks establishing that Lara and her father were close when she was a child, and imply that her mother was dead. And then we get to the Richard Croft that we are dealing with here. So basically, after the disappearance of Amelia, which we saw, obviously, all sorts of out during Tomb Raider Legend, he travelled all over the world investigating archaeological sites and ruins in search of a stone dais, which is similar to what she disappeared from. And during that time he raised and taught Lara alone. However, she disappeared and was declared legally dead, although his remains were never found. So that's kind of depressing. Then in Tomb Raider Anniversary you got a bit more information that he was tutored at Eton in anthropology and archaeology, and spent his younger years mounting innumerable expeditions to historical sites around the world, in an effort to support his unconventional hypothesis of a base culture that predated known history. And also states that Richard and his wife Lady Amelia de Mornay had Lara only a year after marrying. 9 years later, after Amelia disappeared in a plane crash, Richard sank further and further into obsession, consumed with discovering what had become of her. A few years later, he himself died while on a dig in Cambodia. And that basically brings us up to here. But they did change stuff to do with Richard Croft in the reboot, and basically just made both of Lara's parents disappear during an expedition, and cast Richard Croft more as a man chasing his dreams rather than facts, and very interested in supernatural and mysterious things. So, often highly doubted, but described by Conrad Roth, who is sort of the father figure of the game, as smarter, wiser and stronger than anyone he knew. But basically he was not the father that Lara needed. That role was filled by Conrad Roth. Which I think is a bit annoying, because it kind of... pretty much the Lara that you see in the early games is very much... well, she respects her father and does what she does because of him and her mother. And because they kind of got rid of that for the reboot, it's a bit like, oh. It's like forcing the need to have the father figure appear in the game. Just a little bit clunky, if you ask me. But something that I also want to talk about whilst we move blocks, because that's always fun, is Croft Manor itself. Now, we saw the outside of it in the opening cutscene, and we will no doubt be seeing more of the outside. But basically this is the second version of Croft Manor that was ever shown off, and it's the one that is seen in the two Tomb Raider films, Legend, Anniversary and Underworld. And as I believe I have stated in every single Tomb Raider commentary I've done, because that's how sad I am, it's based on, or at least partially based on, Hatfield House. Well, it's entirely based on Hatfield House, and in fact, in the film, that is the location where they filmed. Now, Hatfield House is in a very large park, the Great Park, on the eastern side of Hatfield, Hertfordshire, England. It's a Jacobean house built in 1611 by Robert Cecil, who was the first Earl of Salisbury and Chief Minister to King James I. And it's been the home of the Cecil family ever since. And it's currently the home of Robert Gascoigne Cecil, who is the 7th Marquess of Salisbury, and it is open to the public. So if you wanted to go have a look round Croft Manor, you can do, which is pretty damn awesome. What's slightly depressing is that you can't explore around the manor in this game, but obviously in Tomb Raider Legend and in Tomb Raider Anniversary there were optional levels that allowed you to explore Croft Manor. But obviously if you wanted to see the real place in real life, you can do, which is pretty damn awesome. And it's turned up in quite a number of things. So portions of the house were used in the 1992 film Orlando. Many interior scenes of Wayne Manor in the 1989 film Batman, and in the 1992 sequel Batman Returns were shot at Hatfield House. It appears in the 2005 film The New World. It was used to portray Chartley Hall in The Golden Age. The white frontage was also used in Shakespeare in Love. It was also featured as chimneys in the 2010 Agatha Christie Marple adaptation of The Secret of Chimneys. It was, well, the long gallery bit of it was used in the 2009 Sherlock Holmes films. It was used in the 2010 Get Him to the Greek. In July 2010, there was an episode of the Antiques Roadshow there. And also, something that's actually a really fun link here is that in March 2011, Hatfield House featured as part of the 20-episode long series of the BBC's Royal Upstairs Downstairs, which followed the royal tour of Queen Victoria in 1846, who visited the home. Now, while it's just a documentary, the fact that it was named after Upstairs Downstairs is quite important, because if I am indeed correct, and I'm pretty sure I am, and I am indeed, it was rebooted between 2010 and 2012, so the fact that that series occurred in 2011 is no surprise. And in that revival of Upstairs Downstairs, Keeley Hawes was one of the owners of the house. Or at least, she was the owner of the house in Upstairs Downstairs, the revival, but the house appeared in this documentary, which was The Royal Upstairs Downstairs. So, there's a fun little loop background to Tomb Raider, which is quite amazing. Now, this particular platforming challenge is a bit of a pain, because you are under a pretty strict time limit to get to the top of this pillar, and then to swing all the way through the closing gate. Now, don't worry if you don't get it the first time through. It is quite tricky, and it's arguably one of the most tricky moments of timing that you're going to experience. But essentially, once that is done, we're basically nearing the end of the puzzling. As you can see, there's the one relic and only 13 artifacts, and we have 10 of them now. It's really, really short for a level, but you will understand why, or at least you should already understand why, but we've already reached the bit where the gauntlet is, so that's quite impressive.
Hello, Lara. Here in this room is everything we recovered from Bogavati, Thailand. Be especially careful with the thralls. They managed to kill 6 of us before we boxed them up. They were protecting one of Thor's gauntlets and a map showing where the rest of his treasures were hidden, all of which are necessary to open the way to Avalon. The Norse believe this site contains a powerful weapon, and to safeguard against this possibility, I destroyed the original map. I hope this was not a terrible mistake, but if it was, I hope you and your mother can forgive me.
And there we go. We are now introduced to the thralls, which are these hideous zombie creatures. Because obviously it was an incredibly smart idea to bring back the undead with you after you've just come back from an expedition, and also when they all try and kill you. It's a brilliantly smart move. Thankfully they aren't too difficult. It is possible to get to a point where you can stop them from attacking you. I can't remember quite where the location is, but it's very helpful. And what is very important to note is that you have to smash the bones to prevent them from coming back to life, because if you just shoot them and just leave them on the ground, they will revive after a certain amount of time. So you've got to perform a melee, whatever, attack on the bones, or use an adrenaline shot. And that will basically kill them outright. They won't revive. And you're good to continue. And so now, all we need to do is get the last 3 artifacts, which I believe are all hidden about this room. So that's going to be quite fun and easy, I think? Maybe? Now, obviously we heard the voice of Richard Croft there, but what's slightly frustrating is that I don't think the guy gets credited at all, which I don't quite get. I mean, obviously it's a single voice, but Still, you would have thought it would have gotten actually mentioned, but no. It's literally just no. It's nowhere to be found. Although apparently, in Tomb Raider Anniversary, he's voiced by Edward Hardwicke. I don't know whether he also voiced him here. I would assume so, because they carried through pretty much all of the voice actors. So he's Major Swift in Fable 3, Mr. Brownlow in 2005, Oliver Twist, Sam's grandfather in Love Actually. He is Earl of Arundel in that 1998 Elizabeth film. And the 1995 Richard III, he's Lord Thomas Stanley. Most well known for being Dr. Watson in the Casebook of Sherlock Holmes and the Memoirs of Sherlock Holmes, which were two TV series, one in 1991 to 1993 and the other in 1994. And then just a lot of other earlier stuff. So Peter Topglass in the 1982 TV series The Bell, Enrico Fermi in the 1980 series Oppenheimer, and all sorts.
That didn't last long.
But
oh well.
Yeah, we are basically done there. And so, as we make our run through this corridor, I believe the final artifact is waiting for us somewhere. There it is. It's in this pot, because that's obviously where you need to have the last thing. But we are about to enter a location that should look surprisingly familiar. And see a cutscene that is very, very familiar. That's right. We are where we were at the start of the game. This is where that bit takes place. Gameplay-wise, it is identical, so really you should not have any problems with this whatsoever. It does kind of make me question why they decided to have it at the start, because I don't know, something about the narrative following of it just doesn't quite sit right with me. Because the surprise of Croft Manor blowing up doesn't quite make up. Well, it would have been like quite shocking if it happened in the middle of the game. I mean, it's shocking that it happens at the beginning, but by this point you're just like, oh, this is the bit that I played earlier. There's no kind of shock of, oh my god, what the hell is going on? It's just like, I've already played this bit. We're going to play more after, obviously, the cutscene that ends it, but yes, it's time to run to the door and run into Zip and Winston.
Look out! Stop! It's Lara! I know!
Drop it, Zip, or I'll drop you.
What? So you can shoot me again?
It wasn't Lara. Why would she set fire to her own home?
She got it to the vault. It had to be her.
Is that what happened here? Someone blew open the vault.
Alright. Say it wasn't you. Someone who looked a hell of a lot like you opened it using the retina scanner.
Impossible.
Exactly.
Then what happened?
She got away with Amanda's race stone.
Where's Alistair?
We haven't seen him.
I'm going to the tech room to watch the security video. You two get out before the roof comes down.
And so here we go. It is time for us to head into the tech room. It's very, very, very easy to get there. It's just a case of climb up here and then just... yeah, it's a very, very, very simple path. And then we're going to get a rather long cutscene and stuff is about to get serious. Very, very, very serious indeed.
Lie still.
I'll see you.
Alistair, hold on!
See you in Avalon.
Damn it!
No. What the hell was that thing?
I've only seen something like it once before. A doppelganger that Natla sent after me years ago. That one didn't have a mind of its own.
But how could Natla have sent it if she's Amanda's prisoner?
They're a team of sorts now. Amanda and Natla, her pet Atlantean God.
What are we going to do?
After I deal with the authorities, I'm going to southern Mexico to retrieve Thor's belt.
What? Alistair's dead and it's just business as usual?
I need Thor's belt to get his hammer, and I need the hammer to kill a god.